Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to a brand new podcast series called Jambareeqi Sandwich, a film and animation themed variety show. We're sort of going to sandwich a bunch of things together into one series. Trivia, games, discussion, and much more. Joining me is my co-host, Viva Becker.
Hello.
So, Viva, how has your January been, and what have you been up to, and what have you been watching?
I saw 1917. I think that's what I saw this month in the theater.
I've heard it's really good, but I've heard other people saying it's overrated.
I thought it was pretty good. It was entertaining. The one-shot thing was fine. I didn't think they really needed to try to do that, especially because you could tell when they cut it. But what I did like about it was that it freed them up to be able to do whatever they wanted with the story. Like, it didn't have to be about something, which a lot of the war stories kind of are. They try to make it be about something. I thought that it was more enjoyable to watch than Dunkirk.
So, this month, the only film I saw in cinemas, and you knew I was going to go and see it, and you resented me for the fact that I was going to go and see it, I went to watch Cats. Me and my friend Miranda went to go and watch Cats.
Yes.
And halfway through, I literally turned to Miranda and said, do you know what's going on? And she responded, no. It definitely lives up to its reputation. It is relentless in how confusing it is. And it does not care if you follow what's happening. It just keeps going. All it is scary, uncanny valley cat people singing about who they are, then disappearing.
Now, don't you think caring about making sense is an important part of the film, or at least caring about the audience staying engaged, caring about the audience understanding what's going on? I feel like that's a pretty foundational aspect of filmmaking. And you have supported extremely low quality filmmaking. I'm just going to say that you're everything that's wrong with the film industry today.
The thing is, I went to see it because I was hoping it was going to be so bad it's good, but more than anything, it's both tediously boring and terrifyingly overwhelming at the same time. So it creates this really unusual experience where you're scratching your head and hoping for it to end. like oh yeah, it's very creepy. But the thing is, I listened to podcasts about the film after, and it was almost cathartic because it helped me to realize I'm not the only one that was confused and scared.
Here's something that you could go see if you're looking for an experience that will make you confused and scared. I went to go see Uncut Gems this month. I forgot about that, by the way, when I said that I only saw 1917. That's a movie where you will have a kind of, you'll be scared, you'll be not sure what's going on. But in a good way. It's not like you don't know what's going on because it's poor filmmaking. Yeah. Because they actually cared about telling a story.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. And I heard that it's Adam Sandler's best performance to date as well.
Well, there's not a lot of competition for Adam Sandler's best performance.
True. Okay, so what we're going to do first is a news roundup. First of all, there's going to be a Karate Kid musical. The thing is, I know this idea sounds kind of silly on paper, but Karate Kid does have a Broadway kind of story. I mean, it's about a teenager who feels unhappy with his life and wants something better, discovers an exciting new opportunity that changes everything for him, and he learns better values along the way. That's the Howard Ashburn formula for musicals. You've got a romance, you've got action, you've got a menacing villain, you've got comic relief, you've got the wise elder, everything that's required for a hit Broadway production. So I'm on board with this. How do you feel?
I agree that the story is very cheesy, so it lends itself to being a Broadway musical.
Karate Kid has catchphrases that can be turned perfectly into musical numbers, like wax on, wax off, or sweep the leg. I think you can turn things like that into a song.
Yeah, and I might just not be in the right circles, but I don't really know anyone who takes Karate Kid super seriously. So I don't think anyone's going to be, really scared, even if the musical does turn out to be bad, that it's going to tarnish the reputation. I mean, can the reputation of Karate Kid be more tarnished than what happened to it after the Jaden Smith film? I don't think so.
Well, I know that Cobra Kai movie, people really liked that, so there's still sort of a fan base out there. And you've also got 80s kids as well. So I feel like there's going to be an audience, at least. But I know what you mean. Karate Kid is not something like other 80s franchises like Ghostbusters or John Carpenter's The Thing or something like that. It's not a cult movie. It's just a cheesy, fun family film.
Yes. And I don't know too much about Broadway musicals, but I haven't heard of too many disastrous adaptations. I can't say how it's going to turn out, but it probably won't turn out terrible, as in ruining anyone's childhood.
Yeah, it's not a huge risk, not a huge move. But like I've looked into Drew Gasparini, the guy that's doing the music and lyrics. He's very experienced in musical theatre. With a lot of these things, they kind of just get like pop stars or rock stars to do them. But I like that they've got someone qualified. And I've listened to his songs. He can compose fun and lively, uplifting songs. But he can also do like somber, romantic ballads. So he has like a wide range. And his songs are pure, unfiltered Broadway style. They are totally Broadway. So he's definitely the right person. And Japanese director Eamon Miyamoto is attached as well. He can bring some Japanese authenticity to the play. Plus, he's done productions for like Asia, US, Europe, so he'll understand the film's theme of cross cultures. He sounds really excited about the project too. So this is what he had to say about it. He says, I was inspired to do a stage adaptation of The Karate Kid because it tells a story we need in this ongoing age of division as a society becomes increasingly globalized. The sweet contradiction of The Karate Kid is that the real nature of karate, as the show says, not for attack, not to hurt, not to win, but to let opposing energies play out and come in grace to a conclusion that allows dignity and respect for all. To me, that sounds like someone that's very excited and understands the material. So, again, it's another sign where it's like, yeah, it's you can't get super excited, but it's like, it seems like they know what they're doing. It seems like they're on board. It seems like a bit of a passion project for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm always happy to hear that people who are qualified for their jobs are enjoying what they're doing. Will I go see it? No,
Definitely.
I will not be going to see it. But that's because I'm not the target audience. I think people will enjoy it.
The thing is, I probably would give it a chance, at least if I had the money for a Broadway musical. Yeah. There's a lot of Broadway musicals of films I want to see, and I've not been able to. So it wouldn't be much of a promise for me to say, yeah, I'm going to go and see it.
You're supposed to look up the really terrible version on YouTube that someone secretly films from their pocket during the show. That's how you see it.
Maybe. The choreography is going to be done by this dance partnership called, I think they're called Keown and Mari Madrid. Hope I said that right. They've done choreography for music videos for like Billie Eilish, Justin Bieber, BTS, and they've made appearances on like TV reality shows like World of Dance, So You Think Can Dance, Dancing with the Stars, and The Ellen Show. Based on that lineup, I was worried that the dance style would be too pop-driven for something like Karate Kid, or even Broadway, but I watched some videos on them, and after seeing them in action, I can say they're actually really good at evoking emotion and storytelling through dance. Even in their contest performances, they seem to really enjoy telling stories through their movements. So, again, another talent attached that seems fine for the job.
I mean, if the dancing in the show was kind of cheesy and poppy, that would still, I think, fit in with what the original Karate Kid movie was.
It could. I mean, like, I think it would definitely fit, like, the more livelier songs. The people behind this production also seem totally open to making change and updating things. Producer Kimiko Yoshi says that the script, the story is their Bible, but they're reinventing how it's going to be told, so it has to be experienced live in the theatre. So they're going to try and justify the transition from cinema to stage. So everything, I'm just mainly just seeing positives. I'm not like, wow, but I'm like, oh, that's fine, that's cool. It's like it's ticking all the boxes for a checklist and seems like it's going to be fine. Maybe it's going to come and go, dunno.
Well, I'm wishing it all the best.
Okay, so the other thing we're going to discuss is the announcement of a live-action Bambi. Yes, once again, Disney have decided to do yet another live-action remake. And
I'm going to say the same thing that I said when people were saying the live-action Lion King movie. It's not even live action. It's not live action.
Yeah, I agree. It's not technical live action. It's an easier way of marketing it. And it's also an easier way of, I guess, describing it at the same time. But yeah, it's not live action. It's not really live action. But the main thing they've announced is that they've decided on a writer, Geneva Robertson Dworet, who was a co-writer on Captain Marvel. The thing about Captain Marvel, whether you think it's a good movie or not, it's a film about a character finding out who she is in a world that doesn't respect her as she faces her gaslighting abuser. And to me, that sounds like what the heart of Bambi kind of is, because it's a coming-of-age tale about survival, self-discovery, and standing up to a bully. However, after witnessing the soulless and pointless Uncanny Valley disaster that was a Lion King last year, a film that mainly gained success from nostalgia pandering, I don't have much faith.
Well, I don't think that sounds like a good writer choice at all. I thought that the script writing on Captain Marvel was terrible. The story was told in the worst possible way in terms of when they chose to tell you different pieces of information. There was no respect for the universe that it was set in. And I think that you should be free to be able to make, take risks and things. But when you're writing a movie that's in this very unique, connected universe, you have to have some respect for the universe that your movie is set in. And it was, no, it's not going to be good. And I don't think that sounds like a good choice at all.
In terms of, like, similarity between the templates of both films, to me, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can kind of see the connection. I can see why Disney probably chose her. But, like, I was lukewarm about Captain Marvel. Like, there were things I liked about it, but for the most part, I was just like, that was a thing. So I'm not like, oh boy, Captain Marvel writer attached. I think the only thing that would make me at least maybe 5% more optimistic was if they at least had the same animation style as The Jungle Book. Because at least with that film, when they had the talking animals, they tried to make them look at least a little alive, a little charismatic, a little, without going overboard. With The Lion King, it was just dead. just dead animals.
You know what Bambi characters look alive and charismatic? The original ones.
Yeah.
The original characters, very alive, very charismatic. Oh boy, if only we could just stick with that one, the one that was actually good.
Well, the thing is, I'm already not that big on the original Bambi. I don't hate it, but I'm certainly lukewarm about it. I find it rather unremarkable, as cute and beautifully animated as it is. So even if this remake isn't good, nostalgia is not going to save it. So that's going to make it even worse. Although, maybe this remake could make Disney's Bambi more interesting to me by fleshing out the characters and giving us a richer storytelling arc, but Disney's idea of improving their classics means excessive exposition dumps and over-explaining everything.
Well, I see a lot of people talking about, which one should be remade based on, whether or not they liked it when it came out. And I think it should be more based on whether or not the remake is going to be unnecessary. And I still think that the remake of this movie is going to be unnecessary. Will the emotions of the story and will the heart of the story be conveyed better with a different animation style to make the characters look more realistic? No. In fact, the story's going to be told worse with a different animation style.
No. To be honest, at this point, I'll be open-minded because there's very little at this point, but I cannot be optimistic. Considering what we've learnt so far and what little Disney remakes have proved, the past few years, there's not much to really make you go, oh yeah, I love what they did with Dumbo and Aladdin last year. I want to see them do the same thing to Bambi. No, because I didn't like what they did with those films. It's like, yeah, people could argue, well, you can't judge it until it comes out, but we've seen proof of what they like to go for usually. So our next segment is called Trivia Time. Trivia Time.
Woody in Toy Story was originally going to be a ventriloquist dummy, but was later changed into a play doll.
While filming Star Wars The Last Jedi, Mark Hamill considered sleeping the night on the island to save trekking back up to the location the next day and help him get into character. But according to Irish authorities, he was not permitted to pitch a tent, because the island was a protected World Heritage Site.
Quentin Tarantino was actually approached to write the English dub script for Princess Mononoke. Tarantino insisted that Miramax consider hiring novelist Neil Gaiman instead, which they did.
The cast of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them were actually sent to a boot camp wand school, where they were taught how to wave a wand properly for the movie.
Despite being now critically acclaimed and beloved by many, The Shining was actually nominated for 2 Razzie Awards upon release, including Worst Director for Stanley Kubrick and Worst Actress for Shelley Duvall.
DreamWorks Shrek was originally going to be a live-action movie with CGI spliced in. Over 31 sequences were filmed already, but studio executives gave the test screening a negative feedback, so they went with the animation path instead.
Logistics, a documentary about where modern electronic gadgets come from, is the longest movie ever made, being a whopping 857 hours long.
Porco Rosso was first going to be a short film that would be screened on Japanese airlines, but then it was later expanded into a full-length feature.
The Godfather himself, Marlon Brando, was offered the voice role of Sykes in Disney's Oliver and Company, but he turned the part down, believing that the film wouldn't do well.
While promoting I Am Legend in Japan, actor Will Smith accidentally spoiled the ending to the entertainment reporters. Warner Brothers asked all the journalists to not reveal the film's conclusion to the public, and they politely obliged this request.
The pop-up book titled Sleepy Kittens from Despicable Me, which Gru reads to the 3 girls, is actually available to buy for real, without the brush included.
Okay, so in this segment, Cartoon Shake, we're going to be discussing animated shorts or episodes of cartoons, whatever really. And in this episode, we'll be talking about Get a Horse, which is a Mickey Mouse cartoon that played before Frozen, and it's framed like in a cinema, and on the projection screen we can see a very old 1920s style Mickey Mouse cartoon. But as the short goes on, the characters start to break out of the projection screen and interact with the projection screen. And when they come out of the screen, they're in CGI and colour.
Ever, because it was very vintage style. So in the style of the old school black and white shorts, where most of the story is just all of the characters hurting another character a lot, which isn't really that interesting to me. It was fine, but it wasn't a very interesting story.
Yeah, the story is very flat. It's the whole damsel in distress coming to rescue thing, the kind of thing you expect from most Mickey Mouse cartoons back then, or Popeye cartoons, that kind of thing. I think more than anything, it's the gimmick that sells the short, and I think that's what has charmed people about it. It is a unique blending of animation techniques, and it pays homage to classic Mickey while also showing where animation has come today, sort of a passing the torch sort of thing. I think it's an affectionate reminder of Mickey's origins that utilizes CGI without forgetting what started it all. It doesn't insult or mock what Mickey cartoons look like back then, and it does a good job imitating the tropes associated with early 20th century animated shorts. However, I wouldn't say that it's entirely a gimmick, because the 3D characters are very creative about how they foil Pete. Like, they rely on old-fashioned cartoon logic to outwit him, while also giving a Disney magic to the fourth wall breaking of the cinema screen.
It's definitely nice to see where they're actually respecting their roots, where they actually care about their roots and are not just trying to update it.
I definitely agree. They do seem ashamed a lot about it, or they like to hide certain things. Some of the South. And the thing is as well, they could have just made a 1920s style Mickey Mouse short film, but they went the extra mile and they tried to be inventive for what technology they had today. They did something a bit more than that, so I can definitely credit that. It also kind of reminds me of a Disneyland theme park, but I doubt it actually would work as one.
It could be like a museum kind of thing, museum section.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
I like that it had both the 2D and the 3D. I prefer 2D, but the 3D was cool to see integrated in there. And I liked how when the characters came out of the screen, the world that they were in was in color, but it was 2D.
One of the most notable things about it is that all of Mickey Mouse's dialogue is edited from voice clips of Walt Disney's recordings for Mickey back when he was alive, and it took the filmmakers 2 weeks to edit archive sounds of Walt to make Mickey say the word red. So my question, I've got two questions here. Do you think it worked, or can you notice any choppiness?
Yes, and yes. I mean, it worked enough that if you weren't looking out for it, you probably wouldn't be like, oh, they obviously edited that. But if you are listening, it does sound a little weird, and you can notice some choppiness.
And my other question would be, do you think it was even necessary to do that, especially when they already had an official Mickey Mouse voice actor then, Brett Ewan?
I think it wasn't exactly necessary. The short probably would have played better if they hadn't done that, because Mickey would have been able to say more specific things instead of just general things that he was saying. But I think the fact that they did do that is the reason that people still watch the short.
there's definitely an affection to the technique of almost resurrecting Walt for the role. There's something there. But when I read things like they spent 2 weeks trying to get the sound read, yeah, then you start to think, well, is it really worth all the effort just to achieve that sense of sentiment? Especially when it would have taken maybe a few hours to get Brett to do the voice himself.
But like I said, what would people be watching it for if it didn't have that gimmick attached to it? There is something to be said about just trying to make something that's entertaining to watch and not doing what Pixar does and pulling out every trick they possibly can to make you cry. So,
as a creative, fourth wall breaking comedy, it's good. And I really do like it. It is a breath of fresh air to watch an animated short that comes before a feature that's not trying to heavily emotionally manipulate the audience.
I think it's fine to seek out if you are really interested in old school stuff, but it's not something that I would say is a must-see.
So let's move on to the final part of our show, Mega Challenge. Mega Challenge! In this segment of the show, me and Viva will play a challenge, a different game each episode. This time, Viva has chosen the game. It's called Explain a Movie Badly.
Welcome to Mega Challenge! Today, we have written down explanations of the plot of a well-known movie in the worst way possible to try and trick the other person into not knowing what the movie is. So, let's see if we can guess what the movie is.
I'm gonna set the timer. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna go from there. A boy and his son travel the United States, coming face to face with an urban legend, broken animatronics, and a famous pop star. And you're feel free to ask questions.
Is that the Goofy movie? Yeah.
That is a Goofy movie. Well done. It didn't take long. See, this is what I meant. Whenever I write one, they're too easy because I don't usually like to miscommunicate.
Okay.
It's really out of character for me. Okay, let me start the timer again for mine.
A gardener and a group of his friends go on a fantasy adventure, save the trees.
Save the trees? A gardener? I've never seen a film of a gardener. A group of friends. What the hell? I'm thinking of Ferngully, but that's not it. To save a tree? What tree? What?
The trees, multiple trees.
What is this?
Multiple trees.
The tree is multiple trees. I swear this is Ferngully. Ah! A gardener. A gardener. Oh my god, what is this? Is this some kind of obscure VHS film?
Right?
I don't know, and I have 5 seconds left. No, I don't know. 2, 1.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Part of me literally thought it was, but I thought, where's this who's the gardener?
Sam is the gardener. Sam is Frodo's gardener.
Sam's the gardener.
Sam is Frodo's gardener.
I never knew he was.
Oh, you didn't know that?
It's been ages since I've seen it. I had no idea. Is that why he was caught outside? Because he was gardening while Gandalf was talking.
Okay,
so the winner of that was incredibly clear. So, Viva, you get 1 point.
$100.
No. That is something I cannot promise.
I need some money to be able to pay off my bet if the Mulan movie turns out to be good.
And what could have I won? That's what it needs now, is like some kind of like sliding door rotates and it's like, here's what you could have won, Jambareeqi, if you weren't so shit at this game. I hope you all enjoyed listening to this episode. It is pretty much the pilot, so we'll definitely appreciate any kind of feedback. Like if you want something shorter, something longer, more of something, less of something, like anything to kind of like shape the show and take it into a really good direction.
We won't change anything, but we will listen to the feedback. I had a great time winning the competition, winning the Mega Challenge. I had a great time watching the short. Okay. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for listening, everybody.
I've been Jambareeqi.
And I've been Viva Becker. Goodbye. Good night.
Cheerio, folks.